Hey, what's up, all you cool cat and kittens? No, this is not that show. This is the Dr. Quack podcast, and today I have a second installment here of the top 10s. And this one here, this is going to involve just the opposite of the first one here. This is your top 10 baby faces from the WWE from 1984 to present. And again, 1984 is where I started watching wrestling, so that is where I am going with this whole podcast. So let's get down to it. Number 10. Actually, first, I'm going to go to my honorable mention. This man here was one of my favorites watching as a child. Got to meet him personally. Great man, class act, stand-up guy. And he was a hell of an entertainer. He was a hell of a worker. He could work better than most people could in the business. And I'm talking about Tito Santana. He was one of the best. He was a tag team champion. He was the Intercontinental champion. Could have been world champion. There's the big story there. And it was around the time that they made Bret Hart. He was in that conversation. Got to talk to him a little bit about it. I mean, it's just amazing that he never became world champion, especially after the Hogan era when they were looking for people. He was definitely one of the guys that, could have been the follower of Hulk Hogan. He was my honorable mention. Number 10, one of my favorites too here. A lot of these guys, man, I'm telling you, this brings back a lot of memories. But this one's actually kind of current still. Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio, I thought that, his career lasted, 30 years? And, he started it off in WCW. He was down at AAA in Mexico, of course. His father, Ray Sr., people love him. Who's that jumping out the sky? R-E-Y, yeah. That whole entrance there. He was in hella matches. He was a Grand Slam champion. He was definitely among the top 10 baby faces. His popularity is huge. Number 9, I would give to Hacksaw Jim Duggan, because, dude, he was awesome. He'd go, oh, hey, tough guy, and he'd have his 2x4 and American flag, and he was king of the ring. He won the second battle royal. No, he won the second. No, he won the first battle royal. That's right, first battle royal. I had to make sure on that. I always try to make sure I give the facts. But yeah, won the first battle royal, the Royal Rumble. He was awesome. He was Americana. When you can get a whole stadium of fans, a whole arena, chanting USA, he was definitely Mr. Americana, in my opinion. One of the all-time greats, in my opinion, right there. Definitely belongs, amongst this list here. Number 8, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And yeah, we're talking the WWF. Guy had his polka dots on, baby. He had his yellow and black there. Had that in the sapphire. Had sapphire out there. He made a gimmick where everybody thought he was going to fail. The guy had success previous to E. He was world champion, NWA world champion. Took on a lot of legends, as we know, like Harley Race and, Ric Flair. But he went to the E, and he took a gimmick that was very hard to get over. And he got it over. He got it over huge. People love that polka dots. People still talk about them polka dots, baby. They still come out there. He was awesome. He had great feuds over there with Ted DiBiase, the boss man. He worked his gimmick, and he worked a lot backstage. He helped out with NXT a lot. The founder of War Games. Definitely, his popularity is high. Definitely he belongs on this list. Number 7, I am going to go with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He was involved in arguably the greatest match of all time. Him and Macho Man, WrestleMania 3, down there at the Silver Dome. His career in the E, people loved him. He had his dragon with him. He came out, he would breathe fire. And he still probably today could outwork most people, which is probably just it's straight fact. I don't think anybody's going to try to deny me on that one. But Ricky the Dragon, I mean, Intercontinental Champion there. Another one who could have been world champion if there wasn't a Hulk Hogan. It was running the 80s. But yeah, he definitely, another one belongs on this list. Number 6, the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, this is where it gets hard. These top 6 here are guys that, people loved. So if I get these a little out of order and you feel like, oh, this shouldn't have been there, let me know in the comments. I really want to hear this. Because, I love hearing people's opinions. Ultimate Warrior, though, I mean, God, was legendary. And that guy came on the scene at WrestleMania 4, and took that chain and started swinging around after beating Hercules. I mean, that's when you knew this guy was going to be something. This guy was just jam-packed. He beat Hogan clean. The first person to beat Hogan clean for the title. Not many people can say they did that. WrestleMania 6. It was a very difficult match. It was in Canada. Everybody was loving it. Babyface versus Babyface there. And then he had his matches with Savage. We had his matches with The Undertaker. Came back for a brief stint in 94. I'm sorry, I think it was 96, excuse me. Yeah, came back in 96. But totally his popularity, when he would run down to the ring, I mean, people loved him. Good God, man, the fans were always just, popping, going crazy. Number 4. I'm sorry, number 5. I skipped one there. Number 5. He's, like I said, these top 5 are very hard. And, unless you lived underneath a rock, you still probably hear, these guys' names. Number 5, I go with The Undertaker. The Undertaker, 25 years plus, still going today, still looking good. And when he first came out, he was a heel. They had Brother Love, and he had Paul Bearer, but you couldn't hold that guy down from becoming popular. It's just, right after that spot where, Jake Roberts was going to hit him with a steel chair, hit Macho Man, and he saved him and Elizabeth. Yeah, that moment there took his career forward. I mean, he went from the Undertaker to, the American Badass, back to the Dead Man. It was very wild to see him just take these characters and still continue on. I mean, you would have thought his career was over, but draw-wise, he was definitely high on the list. People, are always happy when WrestleMania comes around because there's a guarantee that you're going to see The Undertaker, and he's just always there. The man was 21-0 at one point before he lost to Brock Lesnar. He had a couple more match to Roman there at Mania. He lost the Boneyard match. Good God, that was an awesome match. I mean, it was choreographed from hell. It was a movie style match. But, I mean, dude, The Undertaker to do that was simply amazing. The stuff he did. It was like, man, he was in rare form. Number 4. Number 4 here. Originally, he started as a heel. He became a babyface. I didn't like the babyface. His longevity has made me want to like him more. And, I do think he's a hell of a worker. And that would be John Cena. John Cena, was one of the best, at drawing. I mean, he holds the record at the Make-A-Wish Foundation. There's no, you can't say his popularity is not there because kids love him. You're going to find people my age, it's going to be mixed reviews, but you're looking at the kids, the young fans, probably 18 and under, how much they love Cena. Cena was, popular, part of the PC generation, as I always call it. Talking about, what, probably about 2009 on. Yeah, I mean, he definitely dominated, WrestleManias. Even if he wasn't in the main event, people still wanted to see him work. These top 3, you could really put in any order. I mean, good God. It's all going to depend on your view, which, by all means, let me know what that is. But these top 3, I would take, any one of them. If you asked me to start a promotion with any one of these 3, you can't go wrong. you know. So my number 3 here is The Rock, you know. And some people would say, why ain't he number 1? You know, and in some respects, yeah, I see why. But his longevity of his career was not there. I mean, he started, in 96? You know, by, I think, '02, he was gone. You know, Laurinaitis didn't sign the contract, as everybody likes to talk about, and didn't keep him. He went Hollywood. Yeah, his popularity soared after that. But it wasn't like he soared through professional wrestling. He soared because, and he is the greatest entertainer in all of history. I mean, his feuds, you know, were gigantic. He fought Austin. He fought Triple H. He fought, you know, everybody. Mick Foley at points. He fought Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania. You know, so many feuds that he had that were great. You know, the only reason I don't think I put him higher is his longevity. And I think because he's more Hollywood than he was professional wrestler. You know, I mean, he did great. In the beginning, he was a heel. He was the Nation of Domination. But even before that, he was Babyface. So he's worked both sides of this, you know. Coming out like the great Chief Peter Maivia and Rocky Maivia. Yeah, coming out there with the blue headbands and stuff. Slapping high fives at people, and people thought this gimmick sucked. And they were right. And then he became himself. So yeah, like I said, you could put this in any order. But The Rock, I'm going to put at number 3. Number 2, I'm going to put Steve Austin. Steve Austin is the greatest draw in all of professional wrestling. You know, I mean, people loved him. He whooped Vince's ass. He had his, like I said, had his feuds with The Rock, had his feuds with The Undertaker, had his feuds with Triple H. You know, Shawn Michaels. Never forget that WrestleMania. I mean, Mike Tyson counted the 3. So many things on Austin's accolades. King of the Ring, only 3-time Royal Rumble winner. You know, impressive enough there. You know, he eventually got injured, and even then still stayed in the business. He went from wrestler to on-air personality, being general manager with Eric Bischoff. Some of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, everybody loves the beer bashes. Definitely, you know, he definitely belongs on this list. And like I said, number 1, you can put any one of these 3 you wanted, but this is mine, okay? Hulk Hogan. I don't think you get any bigger than Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was the 80s. Hell, he was the 90s. But if you're going over WWF career, without Hogan and without Vince McMahon combined, WrestleMania might have went to shambles. You know, and then you wouldn't have had the longevity of the WWF and the WWE. You know, so, yeah, Hulk Hogan, you know, world champion galore out there. He had his own cartoon. You know, he was on everything. He was very marketable, and that was all based on his persona. Wrestling talent, yes, he was not one of the strongest skilled wrestlers. I mean, I would say probably about a 5 out of 10. There was definitely a lot better, but his personality and his persona and his promo got over better than anybody else, in my opinion, especially during those days. You know, Hulk Hogan, to me, would be number 1 on this list. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. This is the second video. I've got a few more I'm cutting today. So if you see them out there, check them out, share them. If you can, subscribe to the channel. You know, give me a couple likes. Tell me you like what you like. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. Tell me that you think that I'm completely wrong about Hulk Hogan. I'd love to hear it. Hear your number 1. Who is your favorite? All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm out.